All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Patch Notes Podcast Hot Takes, your one stop shop for esports news, gaming patch notes, and an occasional interview or two. I, as always, am your host, Alex aka Overlord, and I am joined today by my co host, Nathan aka Goose. Say hi, Goose.
What's going on?
And Hot Takes is a new format on this podcast where we are just going to be breaking down individual topics into 10 to 15 minute segments that really make it easier for you guys to digest and understand the stuff that we are trying to present. So today we have a very, very exciting topic. We are going to be talking about Minecraft Live and the new update that was announced, the Caves and Cliffs update, and we are here to break it down. So Goose, take it away with the patch notes.
Yeah, we saw a lot of stuff with the new Minecraft update reveals, and I'm just going to talk about a few of them today, and we're going to break it down into around 3 sections. And we're going to start off with the mountains, which were voted on the previous Minecraft Live, and these mountains are entirely new with terrain generation, and they actually look good this time. They're not the horrid mountains that we see in Minecraft today. And a few things that are included in the mountains are goats, which are a really cool mob that will be able to jump over things and ram things off the edges of cliffs. And snowier snow, which is going to be in the form of powdered snow. And apparently you're going to be able to fall through it. And it's not going to be a fun time when you do. Uh,
That is
I
that is very interesting. So you said we've got the mountain goats. What I'm wondering actually is, will you be able to milk these mountain goats? That's going to be my big question. Will it be a replacement for the cow? You know, will they have a new
That
variation
is the
goat's milk?
question. You might get headbutted off a cliff
Oh,
in the
I'm
meantime.
sure you would get forcefully evicted.
One thing I think is most interesting about these mobs is that they have the ability to jump, so they can pathfind over gaps. And I wonder if you might see that in future updates. Because
The
right now I
ability
don't
of
think we
different
have
mobs to
like
pathfind
jump.
over objects. Well, I mean
Yeah, because I don't.
The Enderman right now can teleport, which isn't exactly pathfinding over objects, um, but yeah, I'm trying to think. The bunny doesn't really do that either, so it would be unique to the
No,
mountain
just
goat.
it pathfinds like any other creature, like along the ground, but its movement is small hops. So it's actually really cool that the goats can like see emptiness and jump over it. Uh,
Interesting.
anyways, now let's get on to the caves. The most widely like excitement-inducing part of the update is the caves, because everyone's been wanting a cave update for years. And we're going to start off with the different cave biomes. One of them being the Lush Caves, which are found under a new tree on the surface called the Azalea tree. So if you see this tree on the surface, you'll mine down, and you'll find these caves filled with tons of plants and all sorts of different greenery and wildlife. So we see glowberries, which are very fascinating because they're glowing plants that grow underground. The lush caves have lots of water, and in that water we have the oxalotl. I think I just said that wrong, but it's a hard name. And they are a new water mob that it looks like you're able to tame by using a bucket. So I'm gonna be having a massive axolotl army that's gonna yeet anyone
You
who
know
comes
what?
near me.
I bet that is a massive goal of yours. The is it axolotl? Is that how you were
Axolotl.
axolotl?
It it is a newt that is
Interesting.
found in caves in Mexico.
Interesting. I think that is a very unique mob choice for the game. And you know what? I do think that is that I don't know. I like the idea of the Azalea Caves. It actually reminds me of Fallout 76's vault. What was the vault name? I think it was Vault 94 or something like that. But it was where you would go into the underground caves and you would face a giant, basically a giant Venus flytrap, and I thought that was super cool. But beside all of that aside, I honestly do think that it is going to be a very interesting addition to the game, and I know that from what I've seen in the snapshots, not the snapshots rather, but from what I've seen, the images that have been released about the Azalea Caves, is that they look very mysterious, very intriguing, and honestly, I cannot wait to see these in the game.
I want to build my house in one.
Yeah, that is the thing that I have noticed about the Caves and Cliffs update is that it does seem to promote underground, and even
Dwelling.
even nomadic underground dwellings. So like moving your stuff around, especially with the addition of pouches, which I'm sure you'll get to, or
Yeah, the
whatever you
bundles.
the bundles. That's what it is. The bundles, which I'm sure you'll get to. But I
Yeah.
think this entire update has really just kind of challenged players to take to underground and move into a more nomadic lifestyle that's not so set around one home base.
Yeah, and I think I'm maybe not nomadic, but I'm definitely going to be making my next house in a lush cave. And another feature of the lush caves are the ah, I keep forgetting the name. It's like spore flower, spore lotus, or something like that, which is a really cool flower that actually opens and closes. And when it's open, it releases all these cool particles. So that's going to really like bring to the atmosphere of the lush caves.
Almost remind you of the upside down from Stranger Things.
I would like to say yes, but I never watched Stranger Things. So
Oh boy, I'm sure that is something you need to get on then. Huh?
so another biome that we're seeing with this new Caves and Cliffs update, which I think is cool, but could use some work, are the dripstone caves. And I think the dripstones or stalactites and stalagmites are really cool, but I do have a problem with their textures. They seem very bright compared to a lot of the stone around them, so they look kind of like out of place. But I think Mojang might fix that in the future. And these are really cool because they will, like, if you land on them, it will hurt you. And they can fall from the ceiling, which is also like really cool. We're getting those physics from like sand and gravel in there. And apparently you can fill a cauldron with the water dripping off of them. I don't know how useful that is because, infinite water sources are a thing. But I guess it's a cool feature. What do you think, Alex?
Well, you know what? I think out of all the announcements they made, excluding perhaps the mountains, this was probably the one that captured my attention the least. It was like, okay, cool, there are stalactites and stalagmites in there now. Okay, I don't really know why I needed them. I mean, sure, it adds to the realism, and I'm sure it's a nice touch for people who have wanted more realistic caves. And I'm sure this will take a great many burdens off of the modding community. But overall, I think that it's not necessarily an update we needed, but it's an update that it's we'll take it.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I mean, there's not much to say about the dripstone caves. It's just really a normal cave that has stalactites in it. So I guess we're gonna move on to one of the more interesting new cave biomes, which is the deep dark, apparently found at the lowest depths of the world. And we see a lot of cool new things in the clip that we saw at Minecraft Live from the deep dark. For one, it looks like there's a new block that the caves are made out of. But uh, another thing that tends to be a bit larger in the update is the new mob that dwells in these caves, the Warden, which does not see you, but attacks you via sound. So that's a really cool thing that I think will change a lot of people's play style when they get to those caves. It's a horrifying mob that I don't want to face.
You know what? I don't think I'd want to face it either. And I think in the clip that they showed, it did like 7 hearts or something with full netherite armor. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but to me it just seems like something kind of a new interesting play because it almost seems like a mini boss and
Yeah.
I think that even though we have bosses like the Wither and the Ender Dragon, I think that it'll be an interesting change of pace, and given that it does that much damage but is purely based off of sound, I think it'll create some interesting dynamics. I know Captain Sparkles was talking about, just to give him credit for this thought, but he was talking about maybe perhaps there would be a specific new type of enchantment that would allow you to move more quietly, as to tiptoe around the Warden. But I was more interested in the blocks themselves that were presented in the Deep Darks, and I saw that they could even carry wireless redstone signals.
Ah, yes, the skulk growths. I was going to get to that. They detect vibrations similar to the Warden,
So some sort
and
of motion detector perhaps is in the future for redstone people, or at least an easier version of a motion detector. Yes.
yes. So you'll be able to it'll detect when someone's walking, and you can direct it with wool. And I'm very fascinated to see what Mumbo Jumbo is going to do with this new wireless redstone.
I'm sure Mumbo Jumbo will go absolutely bananas over this new creation that that Mojang has put out. And I'm really curious to see now, because then you could have wireless switches and other various hidden entrances that were
Hmm.
possible but a lot more difficult. And now you won't need a huge trail of redstone from point A to point B. Now you can just have it's shulk growth. He said yes.
Skulk growth or something
Skulk
like that.
growth. So yeah, so you could have a skulk growth, then like I said, transmit from point A to point B, and I think I think it's an interesting prospect, and I'm really fascinated to see where it goes.
And this is a sort of minor thing about the deep dark, but there are candles there. And this, as someone who really enjoys building medieval buildings and just building cool things in general, I really enjoy the prospect of candles as a new light source. It's going to look really cool in a lot of builds and with chandeliers. And it looks like it works somewhat like a sea pickle, being able to put like 1 to 4 on a brick.
That is certainly an interesting prospect that I'm sure will have a lot of medieval enthusiasts just rip and raring and ready to go for the new update. But yeah, anything else? What else do we have to cover? I mean, obviously there's a lot. So
Yeah. We have. I'm just going to try to skip ahead here a bit, and we have the new amethyst geodes and copper. I'm going to talk about these at the same time because it seems like they both have a similar use together, which is the telescope, and that will be created using amethyst crystals and copper. And these amethyst geodes are basically like a dungeon, kind of. You can't move them, and you have to find them in caves to grow your own amethyst crystals. And apparently, they're going to be very rare. And I don't know how I feel about them. They're cool, but it doesn't seem like the amethyst crystals have many uses except for a telescope, which, with a lot of people that use Optifine, was already a thing without the massive blackout on the screen.
well, I do. The prospect of a telescope is quite interesting to me, because on one hand it'll provide users who don't know how Optifine works with an Optifine like experience, but as you said, it blocks out a majority, or it blacks out a majority of the screen, which does not seem conducive to a player, or it doesn't seem to make it worth a player's while. Um,
Especially for being a rare item.
uh, yeah, and I think as far as the amethyst geodes, they said that it can't be, even with Silk Touch, it can't be planted elsewhere.
Yeah,
So you
because
would
their
have to
idea was
return
to,
to the original site,
yeah, the idea was to
which,
make like a farm offsite, which they really liked
yeah,
with people doing with dungeons.
which I don't know. I think it raises some interesting prospects, but I think that there's got to be some other use for the amethyst crystals, some more valuable use for it to be worth putting a farm down there. Because I know I probably can't speak for you, but I don't think that copper, or sorry, I don't think that amethyst, if it's just being used to make telescopes, is going to lead me to create a farm for it.
I have a really big telescope business that I need to supply for.
A monopoly over telescopes. So what else is in this major update?
So, continuing on with the copper, it has a few new items. It has a block, which will be used to build. Obviously, it's more like a decoration block. But something interesting with that is it changes like to the mint green of the Statue of Liberty that we like to see, and I think it's cool. It's very much a decoration block, and I hope we see more blocks like it in the future. And another thing that I think is going to be more of a bane to the existence of Minecraft is the lightning rod. It's a cool subject, but I don't want to see all those wool houses.
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see, because maybe the fact that lightning is going to be drawn to it might be something that could be exploited for farms. So you
Oh,
could put a lightning rod at
true.
the bottom, create a creeper farm, and then you would have charged creepers. Not exactly sure what you would use the charged creepers for, but you would be able to farm anything that became electrically charged, which is certainly an interesting prospect because lightning is a very powerful tool, at least for mobs, that I don't think has been harnessed very effectively up until now. As far as the copper green, I think that's something quite interesting that we will have to see more decoration blocks kind of like that going forward. Anything else from the new update?
Yes, I'm gonna wrap this up with archaeology sites, bundles, and I'll just save the very last subject. It's gonna be quick because I hate it. Anyway, the archaeology sites are really cool. It's a new structure that spawns, and you'll be able to find valuables like gold, emerald, diamond blocks, etc. But another cool feature is the ceramics, like the painted ceramics, and you'll be able to make your own pots with. I just think that's cool. And before you respond, Alex, I'm just going to talk about bundles real quick, just so we can talk about this quicker. And these are a lifesaver because now you don't have like these random one stack things everywhere. You just throw it all in one pile, and I can't wait to start using these because I've had lots of inventory problems like that.
Well, I will say before we kind of wrap things up here, I do like the idea of the archaeology site and the brushes that are going to be introduced with them because it will possibly create better terraforming and better ways of kind of changing the landscape to look more authentic than it currently is. And then last but not least, the bundles I think may or may not end up replacing Skulker boxes. Not entirely, obviously, but at least in terms of ease of access and practicability. I don't really know how to say that, but it'll probably be a lot easier to obtain. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be an item from only by fishing, like a saddle. Maybe it'll only be
Yeah, I'm
available
really
in rare mob drops. It'll be really interesting to see how you can obtain a bundle.
I really hope you can craft it.
You know what? I
Anyways,
really hope so too.
we have one last thing, and I want you to get triggered with me. The glow squid.
The glow
The
squid,
worst, the worst option
the worst
for
option
the
for
mob
mobs.
mode.
You know
I
what?
hate it.
I know you wanted the Moo Bloom to win. You said yes or something along those
Yes,
lines.
I think the move loom would have been
I,
so
you know
cool.
what? It would have been cool, but I personally like the Chillager. I thought he was even cooler. Pun intended there. No, but I think the Chillager would have revolutionized the way we farm ice, and I think that it probably would have opened up a lot more ideas as far as the way to twist around conventional Minecraft. And I just think that I think that it would have opened up exciting new possibilities. But the glow squid is what we got.
Yeah.
So,
Everyone
I,
voted on the
uh,
thing that has no use.
yeah, I don't personally understand it. Goose doesn't really understand it, but here we are.
It doesn't even glow.
You know what? At the end of the day, it is what it is. Um, so this has been the Entity Esports hot take for the Patch Notes podcast. We covered Minecraft Live today. We talked about the different things included in the announcement and what it means for Minecraft. I am once again Alex, aka Overlord. I was joined by Goose today,
See you later.
and we will see you all in the next hot take.